All right, guys, so Biden has been coming out and doing interviews. He's, trying to get back out there and show that he's still vibrant and energetic and he's with it and he can handle the load of the president. And so he sat down for an interview with Lester Holt. I'm going to show you a bunch of clips, then I'll show you some of his NAACP speech. But this first clip I'm going to show you, this is the only clip where I'm actually going to kind of defend Biden, because this line of questioning from Lester is, like, disgusting. Right? It's basically like, hey, do you feel somewhat responsible for somebody trying to kill former President Trump? That's basically what he's asking. And he keeps prodding him like, you are a little responsible, right? That's the subtext of what you're about to see. So let's watch and we'll break it down.
Well, let's talk about the conversation this has started. And it's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term was bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. Focus. I mean, there's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said, I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that wouldn't accept the outcome of this election.
So just to interject here, I find this line of questioning from Lester Holt incredibly dishonest. As Adam Johnson points out here, he says, absolutely batshit, bad faith, concern trolling from Lester Holt, who has to act like he's never heard of a metaphor before. And then he says, even worse rambling answer for Biden. Yeah, and that's the part of this that's even more pathetic, is that, guys, in a sense, this is a softball down the center of the plate, because any politician can really, bat this question back very easily, can flip it very easily, and Biden is clearly incapable of flipping it, even though this is a softball. This would have been a softball for Biden in the year 2012 or maybe even 2016, but now with his brain half gone, he can't really handle it. So to the language of Biden says Trump is an existential threat, he's a threat to democracy, and it's time to put Trump in the bullseye, let's stop pretending like he was secretly calling in a strike on Trump, like given the drone coordinates for Trump. Like, let's stop being dense on purpose. But what I don't like from Biden is he says, it was a mistake to use the word. No, it wasn't. On what planet is it a mistake to use that word? And they said, I didn't say crosshairs. Even if you had said crosshairs, we got to put Trump in the crosshairs. Clearly, the implication is we got to focus more on his bullshit. We got to call out his lies. We got to show where we disagree. We got to show how he's authoritarian. See, now Republicans are cynically using this to say no criticism of Trump is allowed, even policy criticism of Trump. You can't even say he's authoritarian, even though, by definition, trying to overthrow the last election is authoritarian. You're not allowed to say that now. Now, facts are not allowed because somebody tried to do something horrible to Trump. No, I don't accept that. I think that's totally unacceptable. And Lester Holt is feeding into this hysterical viewpoint by lending it any credence and credibility by asking him the question, like, hey, do you feel a little responsible? Should you tune down your rhetoric? No, he's allowed to bring up facts and he's allowed to accurately describe Trump because he's not saying, and you should do a direct threat of violence against that man's life.
You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on what he's saying and, the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that could incite people who are not balanced?
If you think Joe Biden is capable of inciting anything, he can't even get his own staff to listen to him. You can't say, hey, this guy is not there cognitively anymore. He can't complete a sentence. He's incoherent. He's weak. He's feeble. You can't say that and then also act like, he's the mastermind of this plot and he was inciting violence by accurately describing Donald Trump.
Well, I don't think, look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look, I've not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses, talking about how he's going to forgive all suspend the sentences of all those who were arrested and sentenced to go to jail because of what happened in the Capitol. I'm not out there making fun of, remember the picture of Donald Trump when Nancy Pelosi's husband was hit with a hammer, joking about it?
Yeah, he's right. He can't get the words out, but he's right. and pathetic from Lester Holt. Okay, so now let's switch gears here a little bit. Again, this is classic. Man, hold your breath every time Biden talks. Feel the anxiety bubble up in your stomach because you just know on some level he's not going to be able to get through this. Watch this one.
If you were to continue to run and be officially nominated, what happens if you have another episode like we saw during the debate?
What happened if another?
Yeah, what happened?
What happened? No. He literally said that.
What happened if another?
Yeah, what happens if?
Oh.
What happened if another?
Yeah, what?
Oh. Well, again, one more time.
What happened if another?
Yeah, what happens if you have another performance on that level?
I don't plan on having another performance on that level.
Oh.
All right.
You're already doing it. You're already having it right now. There was another part where he said, like, hey, who are you consulting as to whether or not this is a good idea for you to continue in the race? Like, are you taking anybody's good faith advice? And his response was, I'm consulting myself. So in other words, I don't give a shit what anybody else says. I'm going forward like a bull in a china shop. That's what he was saying, regardless of the fact that he's cognitively declining, regardless of the fact that like 80% of the country thinks he can't complete a second term. All that stuff, he says, throw it out the window. I'm going to do it because I feel like doing it. Consulting myself. So a lot of very, very terrible moments in this interview. All right, now let's go ahead and jump to the NAACP speech because there's a lot of people, yet again, pointing out a lot of moments in this speech that are not so hot. So here we go. This is where he tries to say, hey, I have a new policy proposal. We're going to cap rent increases at 5%. That's what he's trying to say. Now understand, he's reading off a teleprompter. And even with him reading off a teleprompter, we get this.
The idea that corporate-owned housing is able to raise your rent $300-400 a month or something. Under what I'm about to announce, they can't raise it more than $55.
Look at his face. Oh, he is so gone. It says on the teleprompter they cap rent increases at 5%, and he can't say the sentence even though it's written down right in front of him. All right, one more time. Here we go.
Announce they can't raise it more than $55.
Just the other day, y'all. He came out and said former Trump instead of former President Trump. He said the battle box twice as opposed to saying the ballot box. Now understand, any one of these things on their own is no big deal. It happens all the time. Just the other day on this show, I was trying to reference Jill Biden, and I said Jill Stein. Why? Because I rarely mention Jill Stein, and I probably bring up Jill. I rarely mention Jill Biden. See, I did it again. I rarely mention Jill Biden, and I probably talk about Jill Stein more, so when I said Jill, my brain just filled in the rest with Stein. I was trying to mention Biden. I mentioned Stein. And so it happens. It's not a big deal. It only becomes a big deal when, in Biden's case, every single outing ends like this. And this is supposed to be the time where he's giving everybody an A+ performance to prove, hey, not only can I do it for this campaign, but I could do it for another 4 years, and you need to pick me for another 4 years. So that's why it's become a big issue. But again, I'm not done. This is, it's a little compilation of some of the moments. Remember, guys, a little trick to watch here with Biden is the later a speech on, or the later a speech goes, the later an interview goes, whatever it is, when he's publicly speaking. If his brain is starting to not work well, he'll hit you with a bunch of the anyway. Well, anyway, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna go there. So when the anyway count goes up is when he's struggling a lot. And it's one thing to have the anyway moments if you're off the cuff, which is still not good and kind of unforgivable. But it's even worse to have the anyway moments when you're just supposed to read off a teleprompter and deliver your lines. So you're going to see a bunch of anyways, and you're going to see a bunch of other stuff here. Watch this.
I know you say, Joe, you may not have a Congress. Well, guess what? You all told me I couldn't pass the Inflation Reduction Act. You all told me I couldn't face it. Anyway, we did it. We're going to bring rents down, as I said. We're going to build 2 million affordable homes and cap rent increases of 5% a year so corporate landlords can't gouge. Anyway.
Oh my God. So that time he got the 5% thing right, but then his brain shit the bed on the next point.
We did it. We're going to bring rents down, as I said. We're going to build 2 million affordable homes. And cap rent increases of 5% a year so corporate landlords can't God. Anyway, I don't want to get going.
Can't God, brain shuts off. Anyway, I don't want to keep going. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Genuinely, what are we doing here? And now he's up against a guy who looks like some sort of a fucking superhero straight out of a Hollywood movie where he barely survives an assassination and the bullet grazes his ear and he puts a fist up defiantly while he's bleeding. It's like a more insane than a Hollywood movie script. And he's up against that guy. And again, every speech he goes out there, he can't say anything. He can't do it.
Corporate landlords can't God. Anyway, I don't want to get going. I'm going to get very upset. But there's gouging America. And by the way, not only saves lives, it will save taxpayers. Just what I did on the first round on dealing with Medicare. It saves the taxpayer $160 billion. Because they don't have to pay these exorbitant prices to these, anyway.
So by the way, look, what he's talking about there, to be fair to him, what he's talking about there is something to brag about. He's bragging about, look, we finally cut some drug prices. Now, it's certainly not all drug prices, even though it should be. I think it's about 10 of them over a certain extended period of time. But no other president, Trump wasn't able to do it. Obama wasn't able to do it. George W. Bush wasn't able to do it. They weren't able to do it. They all talked about it. We're going to lower drug prices, but they couldn't do it. To be fair to them, they actually did it. Not nearly enough drugs, but they did something, right? And so this gives him an opportunity to go out there and say, all he has to say is, I cut drug prices. I cut drug prices. Next time, go to the pharmacy and you get the drugs and you save money. Think of me. Think of the Democratic Party. We are the ones who did that. We are the ones who cut drug prices. And guess what? We're going to cut even more drug prices. So this is top of my agenda, is this, cutting drug prices. Instead, he says it in a way where if you listen to it, you're not even really sure what he's getting at.
Save taxpayers, just what I did on the first round on dealing with Medicare. It's
on the first round of dealing with Medicare. That's totally ambiguous. I follow politics for a living, so I understood what he's trying to say. Hey, we cut some drug prices. Hooray. But he can't just say, we cut drug prices. Guys, I get so much anxiety. I feel my stomach drop whenever he tries to elaborate on a point because you know he's going to get lost. And I have genuine sympathy for that. I do. I have genuine sympathy for that. But you just can't handle this anymore, man. You just can't handle this anymore. So, look, there were just a couple outings over the past few days. And in those outings where he's trying to calm everybody's fears, the exact opposite is happening. And we just got word that apparently Nancy Pelosi is saying behind closed doors, she believes Biden can't win. That top senior Democrat said, we've all resigned ourselves to a second Trump presidency. They don't think they have the juice to force Biden out, and they don't think Biden has the juice to beat Trump. So they're thinking, hey, it is what it is, and we got to come back in 2028 and try to do our thing then. And all the people who would be potential replacements for Biden, they want to run in 2028. And they feel like, hey, if I jump in there now, especially after the Trump shooting, even I don't have a chance. This is what they're thinking. And so it's all careerist calculations and considerations for them moving forward. And what are we left with? We're left with this. We're left with, oh my God, don't do it. Don't say that. Oh my God, oh, you just hit us with 4 more. Anyways, oh no, don't, Joe, stop, Joe. That's where we are. And unfortunately, I expect a lot more of it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.